Join channel here over on Subscribestar. I hate these people so very much, and I hope whatever they're involved with, it just burns to the ground, and Hollywood just gets to a smaller and smaller audience, and so they have less cultural influence. Because to say like, oh, you're competing with this $1 trillion industry, every minute you listen to somebody that's not in the mainstream, yes, that's a minute that you're not plugged into the matrix. It is. There's millions of these tiny little channels across the social media that are presenting a counter narrative, and it is taking its toll on Hollywood. You can look. The money is still good because they're charging more for the product they're selling, whether tickets or streaming or whatever, but it's not reaching as many earballs. So why the Golden Globes are failing, the real reason why it got the lowest ratings in history, 7 million viewers. So let me see if I remember right. Ricky Gervais did it in 2020. Then they canceled it in 2021 because there were too many European representatives from European countries on the panel. Then they came back. Oops, let's get up here. Then they came back, and then they gave a lecture to the audience for some reason. But I mean, keep in mind, there's like 7 million people who dipped in. At least that's the peak numbers. You're really lecturing the people in Hollywood who are in the audience, but it's like you're not like Ricky Gervais tried to have a real moment, and everyone else that this guy is not having real moments. He's just a useful idiot for the machine. Hollywood's the same people who cheered for Weinstein for 30 years. Why would we want to be lectured to by you people? They don't care. They didn't care about Weinstein. He was fine, whatever he was doing with women, as long as they were making money. Like, oh yeah, we all knew about Weinstein. Like, so why didn't you call the FBI so they could set up a sting? Why didn't you do something with the Screen Actors Guild? Wouldn't you do something? Oh, because we were making a ton of money. They're the same people who are on the Epstein Island flight logs. They're the people who fly private jets across the country to make lunch dates. Then they fly private jets to climate conferences. I think that's Leonardo DiCaprio was doing that. He's just one example. There's a ton of these people. Like, there's video conferencing available. You don't actually have to hop on a Gulf airplane to fly to Europe. That's insane. They get driven around in limos and lecture us that we need to ride electric bikes or something, or Priuses. There are betters, and they need to be driven around. That's how they think of themselves. I mean, any society that could uphold Greta Thunberg as their idol, that society very clearly. So this chick, she's in high school, right? So does she have like any degrees in chemistry or anything? No. She's just parodying information. Like, oh well, it's kind of weird that you wouldn't get the people who are giving the source of that information. Why don't you just have them give the lecture? Oh, what a someone should write those ideas down. They have mansions with insane carbon footprints, and they have lawns that take endless amounts of water in drought-ridden California. Or they live on hilltops in gated estates, which is massive, massive, massive areas of land with armed guards, and they lecture us on open borders, but only in our neighborhoods and not theirs. They lecture us on the Second Amendment, but they live in the wealthiest, safest, whitest areas where they never have to worry about needing a little liberty device for some self-defense. People are finally seeing Hollywood for the wretched hive of scum and villainy that it is. Hollywood isn't a bunch of independent companies. It's more of a woke hive mind of globalist parasites. Don't you think it's weird that everyone in Hollywood is on the same narrative page, that they have one globalist view that is accepted and there's no nuance allowed whatsoever? Everything is blonde man bad. I mean, if you saw the Velma show, you can find it online. We get it. You really have an issue with blonde-haired people. Christians also. And everything is a reference to World War II, but only the Germans and never the Japanese for some reason. And of course, they never touch communism, which is funny because, all the stuff that's going on with Ukraine. It's like, yeah, we should go into the history of Ukraine and the Bolsheviks and how they starved all the people there. You want to scratch the surface on that? You want to wash away the thin veneer to that gaping Ukrainian abyss? Not so much. Not so much. Because the people who are pulling the strings on Hollywood are the same Bolsheviks that, if they have their way, will do the same thing to us in the future that they did to Russia and China in the past. And like getting people to kind of like really connect with that idea. They go like, yeah, all this stuff happened in the past, like within the past 100 years. It's going to happen again in the future unless we do something about it. Like, it's literally going to happen unless everyone awakens to this woke mind virus, this return of Bolshevism. Oh, what are you talking about? People learned their lesson. but it's all happening again. Oh, looks around. Yeah, I guess it is happening again. That's weird. How come nobody's doing anything about it? Come on, if it was happening again, CNN and MSNBC. Oh, they are the Bolsheviks. Yeah. Anyway, so the Golden Globes is eventually going to move to Netflix or YouTube or something like that, and that'll be the end of it as a public thing. They'll keep doing it because it's subsidized by Hollywood, but it's turning into kind of an in-house thing. Hollywood itself is also narrowing its focus. Aside from the Wu-Flu years, it took a big hit, but it's because of that. It's outside their control. It was still doing fine, but the audience was shrinking, so they just ended up charging more money for tickets and for streaming services. So the money was still there, but the numbers are getting smaller. But what that means is that the country is moving away from Hollywood being having the cultural power to. Let me get to Ricky Gervais's bit. Countries move away from Hollywood having the cultural power to influence ideas like it used to. People are not all seeing the same movies. We're not all on the same page. You're never going to have something like a Dallas again, where, what was it? He was in the shower and he says, it was before my time, but it's like, even I get the reference, where most of the country gets the same reference, or even something like Sex in the City, which was, I think, in the 20 years ago. Stupid shows, don't get me wrong. They're definitely dumb, but they were part of the spider web of common cultural reference, even if it was to make fun of how stupid they were. Now you have ideas that are trapped in bubbles within these streaming networks, and if you don't have the network, you're not going to see it, and you're not missing anything, obviously. At one time, CNN was a huge cultural influence. Now, not so much. I mean, it really does not have the power that it used to have. Hollywood is like the last holdout for left-wing people, maybe over 60. If you're on the right or you're younger, then you're watching alt media, YouTube, Odyssey, or some other social media platform. TikTok is probably for the younger audiences. You're never going to get a 77 Star Wars or an 84 Ghostbusters again. That era of Hollywood is forever over. Hollywood has this woke Marxist virus. Yeah, he says, oh, he's speaking truth to power. The audience just doesn't get it. He's a useful idiot who's parroting the lines he was told to parrot. Oh, well, I guess that's another way of looking at it. Hollywood has always been communist, but now they're completely masked off. And they've painted themselves in a corner where every bad guy is the Austrian corporal, or just blonde people in general. It has finally sort of clicked with the audience that this is Hollywood. They're not going to change. Even the new Sex in the City, I don't even remember what it's called. It's got two of the three actors in it who are like just virtue signaling nonsense. I can't imagine anybody's watching it. Is even woker than the original. Not everything has to be woke. Not everything has to be a vehicle for propaganda. You're allowed to tell natural, tribal, organic stories. Yes, Twitter will whine like the children they are, but it's like if you just got a view of a country by reading this Twitter post, oh God, it would not speak very well of the populace of the country. You just have to ignore the idiots on Twitter if you want Hollywood to survive. Hollywood is getting to be less of a broad cultural influence and becoming a much more narrowly tailored audience, where they're making movies for smaller, woker audiences, and they're just charging more for tickets to make up for the loss. So you have many different Americas coexisting. You get people who are still getting their soy slop from Hollywood, and they have a radically different globalist worldview from people who are listening to, Odyssey, Shing, Cozy, YouTube, and all these other social media platforms. We're way, way disconnected from each other. They have completely different worldviews, which is why the country is moving so far apart from each other that you have kids in the streets who are burning buildings because we're speaking truth to power by burning this independently owned car lot. Like, okay, I guess riots are the voices of the unheard, right? Except for J6. Then we need to work with the FBI to track these people down. It's like, what happened to the left? You have kids who are burning buildings because Hollywood and their teachers, even CNN, is like, well, they call themselves anti-fashionable ones. Okay, but where are the fashionable ones? Where are they? Are they on the streets too? Are they burning buildings? Yeah, they secretly dressed up like Antifa and burned the buildings. That's nonsense. Maybe Antifa secretly dressed up like J6 and whatever. Their teachers told them that they need to fight the invisible fash. So they need to hit the streets, and then they get there and they shoot and stab each other, which is what they're literally doing. They literally end up shooting each other to own the non-existent fash. Don't get me wrong, they're shooting a bunch of people, but half the time they do some event, and I can think of a couple of examples where the spa thing, where some guy was in a spa and he's running around naked, and so a bunch of moms go and protest. It was like San Diego or somewhere, and So a bunch of moms go to protest. So Antifa goes, and they dress up, and Antifa ends up stabbing Antifa. They stab two of their own people because why not? Or some guy was they blocked off some road. I don't know, it was BLM or Antifa, and some grandfather in a minivan is trying to escape. So some guy pulls out a Glock with the extendo mag and just starts unloading on the van, but he ends up missing and hitting two of his own BLM people. Oh, congratulations! You guys are fighting the fashionable grandfather in the minivan. But I mean, hitting each other, which whatever. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. See you guys on the next episode.